Previously on X-Men, Cyclops took Jean out on the worst date night ever. The X-Men encountered the subterranean creeps, the Morlocks. The Morlock leader, Callisto, tried to Me Too Cyclops, and a heartbroken Wolverine ran away. Where on earth did he run off to? Find out now on an all-new Uncanny X-Cast. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Uncanny X-Cast. I'm your host and leader of the blue team, Wes Vereen. This is my co-host and leader of the gold team, Jason. Hey Jason, how's it going, buddy?
I don't know if this is what the gold team does, but what's going on, man? No, I'm doing well, dude. Doing well. Excited to talk more about the X-Men with you all today. And before we get started here, you cold, buddy? Like, you feeling okay? What's going on, man?
Yeah, man. I've got the chills. A little chilly today. Yeah.
Oh gosh, is everything okay?
Yeah, it's just this episode 6, is titled Cold Vengeance, and the vengeance in it is just got so cold. I'm a little chilly. I'm freezing over here.
Oh goodness. Oh, okay. That makes way more sense. Well, I hope you don't get too. I hope you don't get too warm. I think the last.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. Well,
I'm gonna do my best, man.
Jesus.
So, I'm excited to dive into this episode with you, man. Growing up, this was one of my absolute favorite ones because, as we all know, my favorite character is Wolverine, and it's a bit of a solo episode for him. Was one of my favorites. But Jason, you're seeing it for the first time. Tell me, what did you think?
Yeah. You know what? From the last episode to this one, I really like kind of contained story episodes, and I think this was a really well contained story, and it gives us a little bit more insight into Wolverine as a character and just kind of I don't know if it's issues he has, or not necessarily issues, but troubles that he is kind of dealing with internally. This kind of shined a light on that, and just having a not so grumpy Wolverine and kind of more like in his own head type of like, oh, I'm like, why does this keep happening to me type of a moment for him. It was, is it cliche to say refreshing a little bit? I don't know if it is or not, but I really dug this episode.
Yeah, no, not at all. I totally agree with you. This episode definitely helped turn him from the whiny, difficult, complainy character to have a side of him that now it's relatable. We kind of get him a little bit.
Yeah.
And totally important in terms of his character growth. But yeah, absolutely. We start the episode. Last time he did run away, he was heartbroken when Jean picked Cyclops, of course. I mean, that's her guy. He took it. Yeah, he took it really personally. He ran away. So we start off at the mansion, okay? And we see a photograph that's got a cigar burn in it. And previously, in the last episode, it was torn. So I don't know. What do you think? Does Wolverine just keep a bunch of photos of Cyclops and Jean Grey in his room?
I mean,
is it continuity error?
I mean,
because also Jean Grey and Cyclops are wearing different clothes than they did in the previous episode.
Perhaps this is like a Harry Truman show type of thing, and we're the audience watching an actual stage play, and they're just doing costume changes, and we, the audience, don't know that. That's it. This is just that. But I'm going.
Wait, did they? Did they make a prequel to the Truman Show that's about the president?
Oh my goodness! I'm going to imagine that at that time, maybe this was still fairly new in terms of animation, and they were like, don't worry about it, just move on to the next episode. Continuity means nothing today. I'm just going to imagine that is it, but perhaps we have seen in the X-Men universe, people tend to snag videos of other people doing what potentially are, things you should be able to see in video fairly easily. I mean, we saw the government and the Morlocks have video of the X-Men already. So who knows what this universe has? Maybe it's some black market of filming that people are doing everywhere and to everyone.
I was going to bring this up later, but that's a concern for me because there's a lot of footage that shows up throughout the series that who was recording it? I don't know. I wrote that down. Who is this ghost cameraman following the X-Men?
I noticed that as well.
You may not have gotten this far yet in your X-Men education, but
Mhm.
my theory is it's Mojo. Mojo is recording the X-Men and selling bootleg videotapes to people.
It's like the scene from Spaceballs where they're watching themselves in the
Yeah,
television screen and they're just like, wait, what's going on? No, this is happening right now. Uh, it's something like
yeah,
that.
yeah. Just the X-Men aren't aware of it yet. Yeah. So Scott's pretty upset, and Jean feels guilty. She says he left because of me.
Hmm.
And then we cut to the frozen lands of what I believe to be Canada. We see a lone skier on a hill, and he pulls his hood off, and it's revealed to be Wolverine, who says he's happy to be home.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And we've touched upon it a little bit before, but I want to dive into Wolverine's history. He's my favorite character, so I love talking about him.
yeah.
But Wolverine was created by Marvel editor-in-chief Roy Thomas. He conceived of the
Oh,
character, and Roy Thomas is actually Stan Lee's first successor as editor-in-chief of Marvel. So those were
really?
big shoes to fill. Yeah.
Wow.
He then handed it off to writer Len Wein. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. Who's co-creator of Nightcrawler, Storm, Colossus, also co-creator of Swamp Thing, and was the editor of Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons' seminal work, Watchmen.
Really?
The Yeah, yeah. The character was then designed by Marvel's art director, John Romita Sr. Okay, he designed the character, but Herb Trimpe, or Herb Trimp, was the first to draw him for publication because, as we mentioned before,
Hmm.
Wolverine did debut in Hulk. He actually showed up in the last page of Hulk 180
Hmm.
before being on the cover of Hulk 181.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
and Herb was the series illustrator for Hulk. So he was the first
Oh,
person to actually draw him for publication.
that's cool.
Um, yeah. It would have ended there for Wolverine, but eventually he became part of the X-Men in the giant-sized issue. He was brought over by Chris Claremont, the writer, and
Hmm.
artist Dave Cockrum. Dave Cockrum, the guy who drew him for X-Men, didn't like Wolverine.
Really?
And I won't get too far into this, but as he left the X-Men series,
Uh-huh.
he changed Wolverine's costume to this character named Fang. And Dave Cockrum had drawn Fang for a different comic book. I think it was with DC previously.
Okay.
And Fang was named Wolverine in that series.
Oh,
So this was Dave Cockrum's, I think, scheme to change Wolverine, who we know now, to the character that he had created previously.
oh.
And when he gave Wolverine the Fang costume,
Hmm.
he did it on purpose because he wanted it to be so difficult to draw that the next artist hated drawing Wolverine and wouldn't do anything with him.
Oh, geez, that sounds very petty.
Fortunately for the powers that be, John Byrne, the artist, ended up taking over. He's a writer and artist.
Okay.
And guess who his favorite character was?
Wolverine?
Wolverine. So he immediately has Wolverine discarding the Fang costume and going back to his classic blue and yellow
Nice. Okay,
outfit.
that's funny.
Yeah, it's a petty game of tennis between the two, back and forth.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Jeez.
Yeah. So thankfully for the powers that be, John Byrne did love Wolverine, and one of the
Hmm.
reasons that Wolverine became so popular is because Wolverine was typical of the tough anti-hero types that emerged in pop culture
Okay.
after the Vietnam War. Um,
Oh.
the the trademarks of characters like that were their willingness to use deadly force,
Hmm.
brooding, being loners, and other cynical, jaded loner anti-hero types that were popular around this time.
Hmm.
Rambo in
Okay.
cinema,
Yeah.
also Travis Bickle from Taxi Driver, and The
Hmm.
Punisher.
Oh,
So characters like
interesting.
this, darker, grittier, brooding characters were popular through the mid to late 70s
Yeah.
and in the 80s. So,
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
And the voice actor that brings Wolverine to life is Cal Dodd. He also voiced him in the Marvel vs. Capcom games. And great news for all the fans out there, Cal Dodd is coming back to voice him in X-Men 97.
Oh, nice. That's cool. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. A little bit of trivia before we get back to the episode.
Uh-oh.
Did you ever watch Goosebumps back in the day?
I did. I don't remember much of that show myself, but I did. I collected the books. I watch shows every now and then.
Do you remember reading Night of the Living Dummy?
Yes, yes, I do. I
Okay.
remember that episode
Well,
too.
well, in the third episode, or the third time they revisited Night of the Living Dummy 3, Cal Dodd voiced Slappy the Dummy, and that episode also stars a very young Hayden Christensen.
No way, really?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Oh,
a
that's
fun
so
watch.
cool.
Yeah. So Wolverine's happy to be home. He gets about 5 seconds before he's blown to smithereens by who, Jason?
Our one and only, our naked villain, Sabretooth. You know, I feel so bad for Wolverine. I feel like Sabretooth is just constantly just spying on Wolverine just to screw with his day. Like, come on. How do you know? You ran off before Wolverine from what we saw in the last episode. How the heck did you know he was going to be in Canada at this time, at this place? Like, why are you following it? Just leave Wolverine alone. You know?
He's a pest. Yeah. Yeah. And to know exactly where he was going to ski to and have the dynamite
The
set up there
foresight.
beforehand. Does Sabretooth have a power he's not telling us about?
But yeah, our one and only, our best
Yeah.
friend, Sabretooth.
Yeah. And you know, if I had Sabretooth's physique, I'd be wearing what John called a skin suit also. I just don't know about the hooved feet. I don't think that would be my style.
This, and I know I don't want to get sidetracked too much, but this is the episode where all of my past episodes with Sabretooth came to a halt. I was like, wait, I bet he's cold. Wait, is Sabretooth naked? Does he have a costume on or is he just naked? Like, this is the episode that made me go back and second guess myself if he had an actual costume because of this episode specifically.
Yeah. I watched it with my wife Ashley, and she's on your side, man. She thinks he's naked.
Yes, there's two
She
to the
spent
team.
she spent the entire episode trying to diagnose like what parts of it were costume, what part of it was naked, his anatomy, why he has a 12-pack. It was hilarious.
Oh,
But yeah, but
goodness.
they brawl, they get into a fight, and one thing I want to point out is a signature of the series. I love the sound design, man. We got to give them more credit. But the claw pop, the sound of Wolverine's claws popping is just so exciting, even now. So he pops his claws, they get into a fight. Wolverine takes a plunge into the cold cold Canadian waters, I'm sorry, and then does his best Jack Dawson impression as he hangs on to a floating shelf of ice. And Sabretooth screams at him that he's going to track him down wherever he is, and just for the pleasure of bearing his bones. And one concern I had was that as Sabretooth is yelling and he's standing on this ledge, what if he started an avalanche and just snow just came out and decked him?
Just wrecked everyone involved. That would be
Yeah.
what Sabretooth deserves at this point.
Yeah.
He's a villain, but he's more annoying than anything. Like, he hasn't really caused much damage. I mean, yes, a courthouse. Yes, they blew up the mansion's front or first floor, but he hasn't really done anything super serious. And even when he injured Wolverine, it was only maybe a day before Wolverine was back up and running tip-top shape.
Yeah. Quick sidetrack. Can you imagine the repairmen coming in to fix that, and they're like doing bricks on one side, and they're like, what is this in
How
here?
is this? How do these two materials combine into one cohesive unit? I need to speak to your foreman. We need to figure this out.
Where's your city permit for this training facility? I don't know. Anyway, one thing that's interesting, though, is that Sabretooth does mention that even his healing factor, Wolverine's healing factor, can't save him from the cold waters, which Sabretooth would know. They both have a healing factor. So it's actually a very effective way. I'm like, yeah, if he freezes faster than he can heal, it'd stunt his healing factor. But then we cut back to the X-Mansion. Wolverine's left in peril. We cut back to the X-Mansion, and we hear a very angry Cyclops yelling. Jason, why is Cyclops so mad?
Cyclops is mad because Gambit And this is setting up for something bigger, I imagine. But Gambit is wanting to go on a vacation, and he has a friend that has told him there's a place they can go to where mutants are allowed to be there and are. Mutants are free, but they don't have to worry about any kind of prejudice, or it is like a haven, if you will, for mutants. And Cyclops doesn't believe it, and he's like, that's not true. You just want to leave, or I don't remember exactly what he says, but I think that is kind of the gist of what that argument is stemming from.
Yeah, and Gambit does his best Arnold impersonation, and he goes, "It's not a rumor." But yeah, I think Gambit is just excited because, as we saw previously, he likes to rock banana hammocks. So I think that he just wants to go to Genosha to rock a banana hammock. Professor X shows up to stymie the argument, and he tells Cyclops, I laughed at this, he tells Cyclops to send 3 mutants to go investigate Genosha. I thought this was hilarious for 2 reasons. One, there's only 5 X-Men in that room. Cyclops and Jean Grey and 3 others.
3 others, yeah.
So obviously he's not going to send Jean. So it was pretty much who they were going to send.
I noticed that too, yeah.
Yeah, pick 3. I wonder who they could be. And also, what bothered me is that Xavier kind of sets him up because he knows Cyclops isn't going to send Jean on an away mission, and she doesn't really go on the away missions. She stays at base. Mm-hmm. The last one, she was involved in action because her date night got interrupted.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. She's more of a, I'm here. I'm here if you are seriously in trouble. Otherwise, don't bother me at this time. Like, I'll call you back.
Yeah. And secondly, the reason this bothered me is that because Xavier could just put Cerebro on and dive into some mines in Genosha and find out if it's safe or not.
Plot. It's all about the plot, man. It's all about that plot.
Yes. So then Cyclops comes up with a brilliant idea. He's a strategist, and he tells the X-Men, your cover is that you're tourists. Guess what they are if they go to a place they're not from and they want to seek a vacation? Because Gambit and Jubilee legitimately want to go to the beach. Mm-hmm. So what are you called when you go to a place you're not originally from to go to the beach?
You didn't know this, Wes? You're considered a citizen of that area. You are you're just like everyone else. You're not a tourist if you're coming from New York to Genosha. That is not how tourism works. You're not a tourist. You're one of them.
It's the worst cover ever. Cyclops spent no time thinking. He's like, your cover's that you're tourist. And it's just like, yeah, that's literally what they are.
That's not a cover. And okay, again, I don't want to, touch too much on this. So we see Storm and Jubilee, right? Jubilee is excited. This is her first, perhaps actual vacation. Her and Storm, they don't look like they're part of the X-Men. They don't have that wonderful garb that the X-Men have, except for Gambit. Gambit's costume, or Gambit's tourist costume, is Gambit's costume that he wears every single day. He sticks out like a sore thumb. There's a shot of them just kind of hanging out in the airport. Jubilee and Storm, brightly colored, and then boom, trench coat, mask. I'm wearing my suit. Gambit is like, that doesn't make sense. Why?
And even if you thought like, this guy's an eccentric dresser. 2 things. Storm calls him Gambit the entire time. She never refers to him as Remy.
Yeah.
So she's using his code name. And then if I had black eyeballs and red pupils, you'd find that weird, right? You might think I'm a mutant.
A little bit. I was like, yeah, there's something a little bit off about you. I can't tell what just yet, though.
Yeah, Gambit doesn't even bother to put on sunglasses. He's the worst secret agent ever. Yeah, he's going dressed up as an X-Men, and his cover is that he's a tourist. It's all bad. But we go back to Canada to check on what we believe might be a dead Wolverine. Mm-hmm. He's floating unconscious on a shelf of ice, and Puyeta is the leader of the Inuits, and he checks on Wolverine's vitals and lets us know, relieved, that Wolverine's still alive.
Yeah.
There's another member of this tribe Kiowak, who's ready to sell Wolverine down the river for a snowmobile. He's like, let's take him to the government facility so he can get a brand new snowmobile. He values life so little.
I didn't actually think about that. I was like, holy crap, he's about to sell a body to a government hoping that he's going to get a snowmobile out of, hey, here's an unconscious person. Don't tell me how we got him, or don't ask.
Yeah.
Can you give us that snowmobile we've been eyeing for a couple of months now?
Yeah, yeah. It's more important than saving a life.
Yeah.
Puyeta reminds him that the tribe's policy is to help people. Kiowak's lived his entire life in this tribe and didn't know the number one rule. So the Inuits take him back. They take him back to their camp, and they put him in a tent. And I had a question here, because when they find Wolverine, he's in his civilian gear. He's like in a cold outfit. But when he's in the tent, he's in his Wolverine outfit. Who changed him and why?
And this one, I didn't think too much about it, because a part of me thought that maybe Wolverine always has his costume on underneath his civilian clothes. Maybe just this once, he's like Superman, right? He just takes off the button-up shirt and Superman garb is underneath. Maybe that is Wolverine for Marvel, but then we see him later, he has a backpack with that same Wolverine costume in there, so I'm going to say it was magic. And I'm going to say that this tribe's group,
their shaman,
that
these Inuit are shaman.
Yeah, that they somehow is like, you know what? Shoot. You brought up a question I didn't even want to really think about, because I just went with it. I was like, movie magic, whatever. But now that I think about it, where was his costume? Was it in the backpack? Did he have it on? Did they put it on for him? Did they just take off? Why would he wear two layers of clothes? But I don't know now.
He's even when they see him in the tent, he's even got his boots on. So I don't think he was wearing his Wolverine issue boots. And then secondly, let's say he took a cold plunge in the Alaskan water or Canadian waters, right? Mm-hmm. If he were wearing his Wolverine suit underneath, it would be wet and cold and freezing. He could get hypothermia.
Yeah, that too. So maybe it's like, maybe it was in the backpack and they needed to throw dry clothes on him. And that's the only thing they had in this tribe. There's like, this is a weird suit he's got going on, but it's the only thing of dry clothing he has. I'm going to try and give that some logic and say, like John did this last episode, there's some logic behind it that the writers know about, and they didn't want to tell us. We'll just leave it at that.
It's a 30-minute time slot. So Puyeta tells him, he needs to take time off, and Wolverine says that he doesn't need to heal, or that he's fine, and he has a healing factor. Mm-hmm. But how do you brag about a healing factor when you've got your rib cage still bandaged from something that happened 2 episodes ago? But Wolverine gets integrated to the tribe. He starts fishing. He jokes with them, and he's found peace, which makes me think: did he get concussed when he fell off the ledge? Because he totally forgot that Sabretooth blew him up and threw him in the water. Your most dangerous threat, who can sniff you out and track you down and threaten to do so to bury your bones, he just completely forgot about him. He's not worried. He's not even trying to warn this tribe. Mm-hmm. And have you seen Kung Pao?
I love that movie. That is one of my favorite comedies.
Kiowak in this episode reminds me of Wimp Lo from Kung Pao. Because he's like whiny, and he's like, I go pee-pee standing up too,
Oh my goodness.
Everything Wolverine can do, Kiowak can do worser. Just way, way worse.
Making me the victim.
Yeah. Kiowak is taking all the L's. Wolverine's showing him up at every opportunity, which makes Kiowak leave the camp and form a revenge pact with Sabretooth. Yeah. I'm sure that's going to work out for him, because as we learned with Jubilee, Sabretooth's a trustworthy guy.
And this is one thing. I'm sorry. I did want to mention this is one thing I hate about any movie, TV show, anything like that, where a character instead of being an adult about it and just, hey, talking to the person that is causing this grief for them, they just let it seethe and grow into something that could have been, a small, hey, I feel like this, and is this what you're trying to do? Instead of, a quick conversation, 2-minute conversation, right? He exponentially...
Batman versus Superman.
Martha.
Martha.
He exponentially causes so much more danger and harm to not only himself, but to everyone involved. It's just a gripe I have with TV and movies and just, anything media-wise in general. I hate it. I just absolutely, it's a pet peeve when characters don't talk and are smart about it. I know it's a plot thing. I've mentioned this, before, but it annoys me so much.
Yeah, he trades the devil that he knows that's fishing for the village and giving them food for the devil he doesn't know. And it's a naked man with fur around his collar. Then we go back to Genosha, where there's this we touched upon the fact that Gambit's the worst secret agent ever, and we also touched upon the fact that there's weird footage that the guy at the counter has access to that he should never have access to.
Yeah.
Jason, tell me what you think about this very novel mutant discount.
It is so, again, I feel like the X-Men at this point, they should just be on their toes 100% of the time, 365, 24/7. I mean, first of all, who is Gambit's friend that told him, hey, y'all should go to this hotel? It is super cool, super dope. They never mention anything. Does Gambit not care about his friends? Does his friend not correspond with him anymore? Is Gambit so gullible that he just believes anyone that talks to him and says, hey, y'all should go to this island. It's super cool for mutants. Ask about our mutant discount. In a world that is prejudiced against mutants, you should have your synapses firing off right now. It's like something doesn't feel right about this. And I don't even think they actually say that they're mutants, or do they just point and talk amongst themselves while the front desk agent is you just straight up looking them up on government websites himself? It was so, again, sake of plot. I know you have to do what you have to do. It's just, y'all need to be smart about this. Come on, this has happened 4 different times already. You should know. You should be feeling these kind of vibes that have been going on around you at this point.
They're oblivious, and my guess as to who the friend was, it was Jared. While he was on the cruise with Gambit, Jared told him about Genosha.
They're just on a cruise. It's like, oh yeah, hey, Genosha, y'all need to check this. You think this cruise is cool? Wait till you go to this all-inclusive resort in Genosha. It is the best.
Yeah. And speaking of not being on your toes and being completely oblivious, we cut back to Canada, where Kiowak taunts Wolverine, and Wolverine tells him he's not interested in doing anything with him. And then Kiowak says, perhaps not even what if it's not for me? What if it's for an old enemy or even an old friend? And we cut to Wolverine, who squints, and you're like, Wolverine, get it. He's picking up what Kiowak is putting down.
Yeah.
Right? Oh yeah, Sabretooth. However, go on a boat together, and Wolverine's like, hey, we're not hunting seals. Why do you have me out here? Really, dude? Really? You just totally forgot about your number one nemesis who dynamited you within the week. They don't have much time to interact. The camp explodes.
Yeah.
And Wolverine and Kiowak head back to the camp to see it's all burnt down. Mm-hmm. And Wolverine screams out to the heavens that there's no peace for him, not even here.
And I don't know if I have this as a note, but I feel like that was a very selfish thing of Wolverine to say at that specific moment in time.
100%. People, women, children, the people that were throwing him in tents could be all murdered, slaughtered, and he's like, my peace.
Let me see, did I write that down? No, I didn't write that down, but I remembered that. And God, Kiowak, you should have known, dude. You don't. So Kiwok's introduction to Sabretooth is not a good one. Kiwok is, talking to himself, and then Sabretooth straight up just ducks him in the gut. Like, and then that is how they're introduced to each other. So what makes Kiwok think that, hey, he's going to give me his word? We've already seen that with Jubilee. Sabretooth is a ne'er-do-well, right? So is this everyone in this episode? I love this episode. It's a great self-contained episode, but gosh dang, everyone is kind of dumb in this episode.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. But then we cut to Wolverine does this cool thing where he's like, sometimes you got to go it alone, and he shows the mask, right? And so he's looking for peace, but now he's back to being Wolverine, the fighter, the brawler that we know and love.
Yeah.
And I love this transition because there's awesome music that kicks up. You've got Aurora Borealis in the background. It's very, very thematic. It's very like epic. It's very showdown. There's a quick glitch where Wolverine's arms are yellow.
I didn't catch that.
I thought it was his costume, so I was like, "Oh, cool! He's got an extension for his costume to keep his arms warm." But no, it's just a glitch. And then the other thing is that Kiwok somehow manages to crawl up on him and sneak up on him while he's on his stomach. Like Wolverine's walking and he turns around and sees Kiwok like on his stomach crawling through the snow. How did he sneak up on him? I don't know, but whatever. And then another kind of goofy thing is that Sabretooth's up on the cliff. Wolverine and Kiwok are down on the ground. And Wolverine screams at Sabretooth, "What have you done with Buyeta and the others?" And if you look at the frame, they're literally right there, tied to that bridge.
Yeah, it's like...
They're in his line of sight, and also he has a sense of smell. He should be able to smell a dozen Inuit fishermen.
Yeah,
they probably smell like fish, sweat, all kinds of stuff.
I think Professor X needs the entire team to go through some peripherals training or something, because clearly Cyclops can't tell when there's a giant chain with Jean just hanging above him, and you can't see like 20 plus people literally right here, maybe 100 yards or 20 yards down the way, tied up to bombs. Come on, Wolverine. Come on now.
Yeah. It's goofy. And maybe that's why Wolverine or Professor X was traumatizing them in the previous episode in the Danger Room.
Yeah, like, y'all can't be doing this. You need to observe.
Yeah, he's like, you guys, I got to push you harder.
Assess.
Yeah. Well, they definitely need more training. But we finally get the showdown. You know what I mean? Another one, because they had a pretty cool fight a couple episodes back. Wolverine's got the upper hand, but then Sabretooth starts doing some real heel moves. Kicks ice on Wolverine, throws snows in his eyes, hurls him off a ledge.
Yeah.
Wolverine managed to stick his claws into the cliff.
I did
wall.
like his use of using his powers to help him move around and keep him from falling off a cliff and stuff. I do like that type of storytelling. Yeah.
And then Kiwok redeems himself because he has a perfect spear he assists with. Tackles Sabretooth to the ground, which gives Wolverine enough time to claw up the wall of ice. And then Sabretooth, who I guess is also a strategist, decides to just fully charge Wolverine, who's standing on the edge of a cliff that he just threw him off of. And how does that go for Sabretooth?
It goes as well as you think it would. Sabretooth is running, he's full on booking it. And Wolverine, like all great superheroes, moves to the
Steps
side.
out of the way.
And all this is going on while Sabretooth said that they have a minute to save these the tribe itself. Otherwise, they're all going to blow up. I think I have this in my notes. It feels like it has been more than a minute. You brought up Kung Pao, so I'm going to bring this up as well. There's a scene in Kung Pao where he's running to get to, I forget whatever her name is, and she's like, "Chosen One, I'm coming." And it's just him going, coming, but in different frames at different times, just back and forth for like 5 minutes. That is kind of how this went. It was really goofy, but again, movie time is not the same as normal real time, I guess.
No, 100%. I feel like it lasts longer than a minute. We should go back and time it. Maybe, I don't know, but even if you've got maybe a couple seconds left on the clock, Wolverine doesn't seem to care because the guy with knives in his fist decides to pull on the ropes.
I noticed that as well. Kiwok, he's using a knife. He's good, but Wolverine's like, no, I got to rip these up myself. These powers are only meant to be used in certain instances only.
In case of emergency, pop claws. But fortunately, he remembers he's got the claws for the bombs. They end up the ropes on those, hurling them over the edge. Bombs explode. The tribe is saved.
Yeah.
And then they have a talk, and Puyate is sad because he talks about how that their village is destroyed, and but the younger people, they want to move to the city anyway, and that this is going to cause the tribe to lose the old ways. And he tells Wolverine the old ways are no more. Mm-hmm. And Wolverine looks him straight in the face and says, "You called me friend." Which was one of the first things that Puyate had said. So Wolverine totally tuned everything else out.
In the whole time, out the other.
Yeah. So, but it goes back to your selfish comment that you said earlier, where the camp is exploded and he's worried about his peace. Here's Puyate lamenting the loss of his culture, and Wolverine is only focused on the fact that he was called a friend.
You believed in me. I don't care about you, but you believed in me, so thank you. So I feel so much better now. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to help you. I got to go, but thank you so much. Thank you. Again, thank you so much. I will take this to heart.
You solved my problems. See you later, dude.
Oh, goodness.
So, we cut back to Genosha, and Gambit is still wearing his gear. He doesn't even slip into pajamas or lounge around the cabin gear. How did they not hear these giant robots creeping up to their villa?
Robots, weird hover planes, a whole bunch of people just surrounding this bungalow they got going on right now.
This episode is full of oblivious X-Men. The soundtrack was cool, though. I do want to say that the music there was earlier when they're at the airport, they first land. There's some reggae type music that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then here there was some cool music too that got me excited for the fight. It was different, I think, than anything we've heard before. They get gassed. They run out of the villa. Storm, I do love her little theme. It's like dun 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 dun. She has a little theme when she uses her powers.
Mm-hmm.
And then the stealthiest things on the planet creep up. Jason,
Gosh.
You wanna?
I honestly, this was such a weird episode. Let me see here. I don't think I put any notes on how didn't they just get gassed or something? Right? No.
Well,
is it Sentinels just are surrounding them?
Yes. As we covered in the first episode, nothing stealthier than a Sentinel, a giant 8-story tall robot that got away several tons. Just how do you not feel the ground shake? But it emerges, wraps them up in a tentacle, and the X-Men are captured. To be continued.
To be continued. So. Yeah, where is this gonna go from here? But minus its flaws, again, this is early 90s, right? I'm not going to fault too much. It's been 30 plus years since this show came out. Maybe at that time this was really good story beats to have. I still love this episode. This was such a fun episode, though.
Yeah. I still enjoyed it. I wasn't that it was tough to watch. It was just funny in parts, just little goofy things. But yeah, I laughed. Final thoughts?
No, as I mentioned, fantastic episode. We get more of an introspective little bit on Wolverine. Is Sabretooth dead? I highly doubt it. I don't feel like Sabretooth is going to die ever in this series. He's too useful for dumb situations to die. Yeah.
And no, for sure he's dead. We'll never see him again.
I think he's dead, but there's a little sprinkling of doubt in my mind that he might come back as a giant popsicle this time.
he fell off a cliff in cold water, and it's not like we saw anybody else survive that in this episode. So he's got to be dead. But yeah, I mean, to touch on your point, like I said, there's definitely some. It's not goof free this episode, but
Mhm.
but it was a very important episode in terms of fleshing out Wolverine a little bit more,
Yeah.
getting him to be likable and relatable. And stories like this are initially what drew me to Wolverine.
Yeah.
The loner, the failed samurai with a dark and mysterious history, trying to escape and overcome his nature,
Mhm.
as a living weapon, in order to find inner peace. It's a great story.
Yeah.
That Ronin in search of that peace, and given his history and how many times Sabretooth pesters him, it seems impossible. But his persistence, the fact that he always keeps trying, is a sign of his fighting spirit and a genuine optimistic hopefulness. So
Mhm. Yeah.
I love it, and I think it really shines a light on who Wolverine truly is as a character.
I think so too.
Yeah, but yeah, there it is, everybody. Let us know what you thought about the episode in the comments, and otherwise, this is Wes and Jason signing off.
Yeah.
Catch us next week, same X time, same X channel.
Alrighty.
Thanks for sticking it through, y'all. See ya.
Laters.